Welcome to the Selling in the Motor Trade podcast in association with Simco Training. This is the weekly podcast where we share best practice, tips and ideas on how to sell more cars, improve your service department and generally put more profit into your dealership or dealer group. I'm your host, Simon Bogert. Now, some of you probably already know me as Skippy. I would start by saying thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Selling in the Motor Trade. Today, I'm joined with Josh Apps of V12 Automobil with no E at the end, Josh. I'm going to talk to you about that in a second there. And this is going to be a little bit different. Normally, we will interview dealer groups, manufacturers, people in the motor trade. Josh is definitely in the motor trade, but completely different to what we normally do. Josh was a professional footballer. And we're going to find out about his background, how he got into starting V12 Automotive. But firstly, I just want to say, welcome aboard, Josh.
Thanks for having me, Simon. How are we doing? You okay?
Yeah, very good. So listen, let's go back in time because this is a bit diverse. This is different. Football to V12. How does that work? Tell us about how you started off your professional career in football, I suppose.
My dad was always in football from a young age, so he was a scout at Aston Villa, Chelsea, various different clubs. But unlike my parents, I had a massive passion for cars from a young age. So going up and down the motorway on the way to games, I would spot and identify kind of cars from a distance. And my dad was dumbfounded with how I knew a car from the wing mirrors so far ahead. So I always had that passion for cars, but my pathway was into football until I was 19 and came out and got myself into the football agency world. I hated agents and wanted to become a good one. So I'd spent kind of 10, 12 years being a football agent, being able to talk to people, and various people within the football world are actually linked to cars. So, for example, Ken Chu, who's the CEO of HRN Group, is also at Cardiff. So there's certain links where people are involved with various different aspects of the car and motor industry that I kind of thought to myself, right, well, I'm being asked from footballers here and various different people that they're introducing me to. Why don't I set this up as a business and kind of get myself involved? And yeah, from early 2022 until now, V12 Automobile has slowly developed itself and pushed forward in the industry in central London, which is a very hard market, high overheads, very dynamic kind of marketplace for people that are buying cars. But we're growing from strength to strength and continuing to push forward. So yeah, it's a little bit of a different backstory. I've not come from a motor trade background or family, or haven't been selling cars from 15 like a lot of the guys that are probably on your podcast. But yeah, I've kind of fell into it and had to adapt and learn and develop myself quick, and for my staff as well that work for me and that I've learned along the way as well. So yeah.
But there must be so many lessons from a professional football career, and then even to being that agent there, that those skills are transferable into the motor trade. I'm guessing. You're right. I've only ever been in the motor trade, started
Yeah.
washing cars and worked my way through the motor trade that way. But
Yeah.
can I ask you, Josh, what skills, firstly from football, because
Yeah.
you're not just playing football on the weekend there. This is a professional level there.
Yeah.
What did you learn that's transferable into the motor trade?
I think a lot of it is from a young age, from being, I say to people, up and ready to go. So I
Mm.
start like 4:30 in the morning. A lot of my friends laugh at me, but I was like that from football. I would get up and I'd know my day and structure my day, and I do that now with V12. So we're pricing cars, just setting algorithms, everything in place that I know I have to bid on kind of 50, 60 cars a day to win a couple these days with how the market is.
Yeah.
I think a big transferable thing from my football days is getting myself up and being ready to go from when I get up within the first kind of half an hour, really. So my key is between kind of 4:30 and 1 p.m. That's my strong hours. That's my time to get as much done as possible. And then after that, I start to whistle away a little bit. So it's followed me from my football days to this as well. So as you can imagine, evening games for me as a footballer were no good. So I'd have to have a sleep in the afternoon like an old man, or actually in a bad way. Yeah. So.
That's funny. What about now? If you get an appointment, someone coming in looking at a car at 7:30 at night, do you still have that kip in the middle of the
The guys do it now, not me. So
day?
yeah.
Fair enough. I suppose in your world, it's accessing stock is the main thing still, isn't it? Is
Yes. I mean, look, the market's changed, as your viewers will know, with the likes of Carwow and Motorways, where you have
mm,
your online platforms now, where there's so much more access to private stock. The problem you have now is just a lot of people are completely overbidding it to try and knock it back
yeah,
when they turn up. So
yeah,
it makes it very hard for someone that actually genuinely wants to buy that car, because you'll see a car that you've wanted to buy come back through two or three times because it's
yep.
clear that someone's gone and tried to knock it by overbidding it. So access to stock can be hard. We've got great relationships with a fair few main dealers and independents, but we're always happy to buy. So yeah, we'll underwrite pretty much anything. Last month we had GT3 RSs with delivery miles on them. I had a Japanese camper van. I had a unwarranted mileage McLaren. So I'm pretty much able to put my name to anything and I'll stand on it as long as I know that I can out it. But that's probably, I'd say, 98% of the time. It'd be very rare that I won't give a bid to buy. So yeah.
Well, let's go back to being an agent, though. Again, I don't understand your world at all. Wrong
Yeah.
shaped ball for me, Josh. Okay, but being an agent, well, all I would know is Jerry Maguire, the movie. Okay,
Yeah.
but is it more like being a recruitment? Are you the negotiation side of it? Are there any skills that you learned being that agent? And you're still an agent, is that right, from your
Yeah,
LinkedIn
so I
profile?
still have players that I represent, but it's changed a little bit. So I work alongside a registered agent now to manage the players,
Hmm.
whereas previously they were solely my players. Stepped away from a large agency and brought my players with me, and now I work with a registered agent, so I represent the players with him basically. So it means that I manage their contracts, and it's a lot better now. They're a little bit older. I specialised in players from kind of 16 to 21, and you have a lot more pressure, a lot more stress. There's a lot more moving parts with players of that age that you have to manage and kind of yeah, help them with their career moving forward, give them sound advice and not the advice that most agents do if they're trying to make as much money from them. So it's I came away from the football agency world thinking, wow, this is corrupt as hell, and it's hard to manage people where you have, unfortunately, you have a lot of families that have that live on the breadline. And if you have a 15-year-old son that's going to be earning £5,000 a week at Chelsea, you quickly find that the parents give up their jobs and everyone stops working and they live off of the son's salary. So there's a lot of pressure on a young boy that doesn't really know what he wants in life yet. And for me, morally,
Not
it's
right.
tough because
Yeah.
how do you yeah, how can you, if you was in that position, what would you do if you're on the breadline? So you kind of have to look at it as a double-edged coin, and it becomes very hard. And then you've got the side of it where clubs and agents will move players to certain countries or certain clubs because they're earning the most money, knowing that that's probably not the best move for their career. So morally, for me, standpoint wise, I think being a football agent, yes, there's some, like in any industry, there's some great agents out there and they'll do great for their clients, but there's also a lot of bad, and it's the same in the car world, right? A lot of people that sell you absolute rubbish and don't care as long as it's out the door, they don't care. But I kind of came away from the agency world full time into the car world, thinking I can breathe. There's not the personalities, there's not the girlfriend, there's not the
Yeah.
parents want one thing and a house, cars, mortgages. But in the same point of view, that's helped me bring some of that skill set and the chameleon kind of side of it, where adapting to your clients' various different levels, being able to do that in the car world. So yeah, it's been a pretty smooth transition, I would say, although very unique from football agency to car dealership. There's a lot of transferable skills, like you mentioned earlier.
Well, I mentioned this because you actually wrote that you started V12 with more care, more style, and a lot less ego. And it kind
Yeah,
of resonated when you said you wanted to do agents, but do it right, do it a lot better than
yeah.
what you'd had, though. So obviously, it's the same philosophy you bought into starting V12.
Yeah,
And
so for me, it's long term. So it was same with the players and same with the cars now. There'll be cars where we've taken a bath on them, where I've had to kind of shell out for repairs, where most dealers would kind of shove that away or try and get rid of it. Whereas I would rather do the right thing, and doing the right thing for me will be a longer term vision, a longer term game, but it brings in better quality of clients and better referrals. And this business is strong because of the amount of referrals and the reviews. We only get 5-star reviews because the way we look after people, which I think isn't typical in the car industry as a whole. Again, there's a lot of great dealers out there, independents and main, but treating people correctly for me is paramount to the growth of the business. So yeah.
Yeah. And can I ask, again, this is me not understanding this
Sure.
high end, high net worth client base that you're dealing with. There's been some high profile dealers, I can't remember the name, you'll know that were all over
Yep.
the internet everywhere,
Yep.
social media everywhere, selling lots of cars on SOR. Um,
Yep.
but they've folded. I suppose,
Yep.
does that go hand in hand in that world there? It's
Yes, no, look, there's a lot of even main dealers do consignment SOR.
yeah.
I think the problem you've got is with consignment, what happens is a lot of people won't settle off cars, they get a bit greedy, or they'll try and
Mm,
buy another car with someone else's funds. The thing that I look at it, whether it's stocking, whether it's consignment, is that's not my money, it's not my equity,
mm,
that's an individual. So we have robust contracts in place. We get paid out, or we do a contra settle between the banks, so the banks will then settle off. So we try and protect the customer as much as possible. But unfortunately, it's rife in the car industry, as you're seeing with a lot of these dealers going under or going bust, is that
mm,
they just don't know how to manage these funds. And when you kind of play with other people's money, something goes wrong. And so you've sold a consignment car and you use that money to pay to keep someone quiet, and then you're kicking
mm.
the can, and it just evolves,
Yeah.
evolves, evolves. And typically that's what happens with these dealerships is that they take someone's money from this point and pay that person off to keep them quiet, or buy that bit of stock because it's too good to be true. And you just can't do that. You just got to keep everything separate. And for me, again, it goes back to a moral standpoint. A pound is a pound for me, £1 million is £1 million. Irrelevant. It's not my money, so I
Mm,
won't use that money for anything other than paying that person back. So we're within the hour. I mean, I'm the only person with access to banking, and if we have a consignment car, we tell the customer when we've got a viewing. We typically don't do test drives because we're central London, and the kind
mm,
of cars that we consign, people don't really test drive them. If they do, we take a huge deposit. They're covered
mhm,
under our insurance, and payments done instantly to us and then to the owning
yeah.
party. So there's never a case where we have any outstanding funds of customers from a car that we've sold. So if it's done right, I think it's a great business. And I think a couple of the ones that everyone knows that have gone under, I just can't understand with such a setup that they've got and the amount of cars there. How, for me, it's not free money, but it's as good as, right? So um, you're not even having to prep the cars, because really for me a consignment car is we check them over, and the
Mm,
customer, if they need prep, then the customer needs to prep them before we put them online. Whereas I think what a lot of people do is just get them in and try and get them advertised, and unfortunately again you're putting yourself in a position where a Ferrari needs an exhaust, or it needs a valve, or it needs something doing on the car, and because you haven't looked into it and you've sold it, you're then having that problem to try and get back off the owner. It's messy. I just think people's processes are not correct in
mm.
terms of doing consignment cars, basically.
Is that why you look a lot at your own stock and underwriting? What percentage of your business is your own stock, Josh? What do you look at
Yeah,
there?
so we're at the moment about 70% our own stock. So we'll
Okay.
buy and yeah, consign stuff. But the consignment stuff is normally on the higher end bits that we know that we can sell. We do great
Mm,
with Aston Martins, Porsche, Ferrari, Lamborghini. We work a lot with banks as well. So we'll buy a lot from banks when they have handbacks or repossessions. So yeah, we're happy to get involved at various different levels. It's just a case of yeah, knowing what to put our name to and whether it's right for our market. So we'll go from anything from your kind of £20,000 GLC all the way up to your kind of £1 to £1.5 million car. So we're happy to buy. We've got funds to buy, but it's just dependent. There has to be the spread. I can't understand at the moment how people are buying your 100 to 300 grand cars with 2% margin across them. It just doesn't make sense to me. In any other world, if someone says, give me 200 and I'll give you £205,000 back, you just wouldn't take the risk. So
mm.
I don't understand how people do it with these kind of cars. So for me, it has to have enough profit across it. Otherwise, it's just not worth the risk.
Yeah, that return on investment really needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
And what we would look at in a traditional car dealership is that 100% return on the investment. So if you've got 1.5 million pounds worth of stock, you want to look at
Yep.
making 1.5 million pounds worth of profit. And it's just something we'd look at. And in your world, I suppose you could catch a cold very quickly.
Extremely.
So what do you look at stocking? Do you have a 60-day policy where you'll turn the car and can you easily sell your car through an auction to get rid of it when you need to? What do you do with your stocking of your own stock now? Um,
So we've only ever really struggled with a couple of cars past your 100-day point.
okay.
We'll run a car. Normally, we'll get everything kind of gone within the 60 to 90-day period. Anything over that, we've got a massive margin across it, and we know it's going to take longer to sell.
Mhm.
Um, when we offload stuff, it will really be a case of trading it out. We've got a couple of WhatsApp trade groups. We did try putting a couple of bits through auction in the early days, but just didn't really make the money. So yeah, it's better really going to other dealers. Um, but I'm quickly learning with the kind of stuff that you can move on the higher end stock at the moment. Trading those kind of cars is just an easier way of making the money than trying to resell them. I mean, on a 150 grand car, you could have a 5 grand fee across a trade to another dealer. Why would you take the risk to go and make 8 or 9 grand retailing it, having
Mm.
to put a warranty on it when you can trade it and make £5,000? So it's just, as I say, it's summing up what the best option is to do and to run with that really and just back your stock. I think you've got to have confidence in what you're buying. Where we're a little bit different is everything we buy it for a reason. I don't just buy for the sake of, okay, I need to go and get 10 cars. And there's probably been time fault to us that we haven't been able to get the stock, so we haven't bought. And when we don't buy, it costs us money. But I would rather be in that position than be lumbered with a lot of cars that I know that I can't get out of and can't retail things with no spec or lots of owners or no service history or patchy service history. So yeah, it's just a case of really knowing what you're buying and sticking to that.
Yeah, because I suppose the world's changed very quickly. The whole overs market, and
Yeah,
we know what's happened with the Porsche dealerships with
yeah. The
GT3
three RSs,
Tourings
yeah.
and all of this sort of stuff there. And you just have to look on any social media about some of these great guys in doing lots of content on social media and buying 5 Taycans to get one GT3 Touring or
Yeah.
something like that. Those days are gone now, aren't they? Are they really slowing down a lot? I'm
Yeah,
seeing that from the
they'll be
franchise
more or
world.
less gone. I guess there's always, in very kind of sought after cars, when they first come to market, there'll always be a little bit of overs. You've got a new Audi coming out, the new RS5 replacement, where as soon as they touch down in the UK, the first few of those will go for overs because people will be desperate to get them, and you'll have a lot of the export boys that will want VAC-Q versions, and they'll pay a premium. But as a whole, I guess it's just dependent really on the brand and how many they're looking to produce. When there was first talk of the 296 of being kind of huge overs, and then that was for Ferrari a mass-produced car. It's now obviously gone the other way. So same with the GT3 RS. So if you see on my banner on the website and also on my LinkedIn, we have a photo of two GT3 RSs with
Hmm.
delivery miles. And that customer was told that if he buys two GT3 RSs, he will get an allocation for a GT2 RS that still obviously isn't out yet. So he purchased both of those and took a bath on both of them
I mean, a serious
for
bath, I'm guessing too.
yeah, a big bath. Obviously, very high net worth, but he wanted that GT2 RS, so he's prepared to do that. So a lot of our client base are kind of ultra high net worth, and they'll just set a task and say, right, Josh, I want a 600 grand car. What would you recommend? I want to get it in the next 2 weeks. How can you make it happen? So we had a situation recently where Jack, who works for me, has got a client that we've built up a relationship with who lives in Notting Hill. And he's a big Apt customer. Will only buy Apt product cars, but he'll only deal with us. So Apt have an official outlet in the UK, but he will only deal with us, and that's because we've always looked after him, done right by him, and sourced him great cars that he's liked, irrelevant of the money. So you have customers that are ultra high net worth that care about the future values, and some of them that are just like, I want that car no matter how much it costs me, how much I lose, as long as it's within reason, a good price, I'll buy it. So yeah.
Yeah, I suppose lots of people, if you go back after COVID, were buying those sorts of cars as not enthusiasts, what it could earn them. I
Yeah.
think that would happen. Now, I kind of hope because I love cars, you love cars,
Yeah.
that those cars get into the right people who use them. For me, it's almost sacrilege to see this car sitting there that's no mileage on it. And I get it. I get why people do that, but it's,
Yeah.
oh, please use it.
Yeah, it's
Please use
crazy.
it.
I got offered an SP3 just before this call with 700 miles on it, and of course it's a monster of a car. But
Mm,
to have 700 miles on a car, just for me, it's like it's a sin. I've been to customers' houses and seen cars. We've got a customer that will buy Porsche, but he'll only buy stuff with less than 100 miles on it. So we've got kind of 2018, 2019 Porsches that have just got delivery miles on them that are just on trickle charge in storage. And I'm in my head, yeah, of course, there's a long-term gain there in terms of
yeah.
values, but that's not what they're there for. It's a car. It's there to be driven. So yeah, everyone for
Each
their
to their
own.
own.
Yeah,
Each to their own, though, right? It's I suppose at that level,
yeah,
it's like fine wine. Sometimes it's like
yeah,
art, isn't it?
exactly. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
there to be drunk, but I'm sure lots of nice bottles of wine are never drunk either.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly the same stuff there. So, talk to us about the rest of your business there. So it's not just the cars; it's storage as well. Then I
Yeah, so we've
suppose.
got a storage facility here in central London where we store for private individuals for our own stock and for banks when needed. And then we have a finance brokerage in-house. So we're FCA authorized. We will broker for a number of main and independent dealers and also obviously our own stock. So we have access to various different banks directly. So we will assist in funding, for example, on your VWFS with all the VWFS dealer groups out there. At the moment, we're able to absolutely blow them out of the water with the monthlies. We done a Serato, and it was £1,000 a month cheaper with a similar kind of deposit on it. So the rates and balloons and everything can be kind of tailored to really where they need to be within reason. But VWFS and main dealer groups, unfortunately, are very strict with who they can have on board, and there's limits. So, for example, we refinanced two cars last week for a customer. VWFS have a £500,000 limit, so he couldn't go and get a Urus. So we refinanced his DBX and his Bentley Bentayga, so he could then get the VWFS special offer with them to stay under the £500,000. So there's situations like that where we can help a lot of main dealers where we can move and refinance elsewhere and put them with other banks. That means that then they can still retail to customers and they can still get the finance. And we work with a lot of individual salespeople, head of business, and we say to them, look, if it's a situation where you can't get the customer through, or you have a second or third string and it's not right for them, then speak to us. I don't want to tread on anyone's toes. I don't want to kind of cause issues for dealers where they're putting all their finance elsewhere, but we're there to help and to try and position ourselves that we can do what they can't do or what they struggle with, really, especially with buying the past exchanges, which is where we've built these relationships where we'll buy what other people won't, so then they give us some of their finance. So it works kind of hand in hand, really. It's a relationship where your word is your bond, and as long as you say you're going to do something, then you do it. So for us, it's always been about that, and that's why we've got the relationships that we've got.
Again, a lot of our business is franchise dealers.
Yeah,
And their supply chains is like going speaking to I don't know, uh, Land Rover, for example. Okay,
yeah.
JLR is where they'll get a lot of their stock and so forth. What does sourcing your stock look like on a day-to-day basis? How much is it underwriting through dealers? Is it going through motorways, Carwows of the world? Do you go and stick your hand up at BCA auction? What's your day-to-day look like for sourcing stock for you?
All of those really. If someone came to me and said that they would want a Range Rover S3R, I'd be looking across all the auction platforms. I'd be looking on Carwow and Motorway, and I'd be kind of doing a LinkedIn post. I get a lot of luck from LinkedIn, from private and from trade. And it's a case of going out to my network, posting on groups, saying I need this kind of car. It's just then trying to find the right car. You can find yourself losing a lot of time very quickly by kind of posting and putting it everywhere and not getting any luck. So really, you've got to know that this kind of stuff that you can source and you've got access to. So I'm always open to kind of new relationships and people that can do good business. I just don't want to work with kind of time wasters and chains and things where
Mm.
people kind of say they want to buy something or can offer me stuff and they just don't. So I'd rather work with a core group of people that I know that can assist in sourcing a car. So if that is looking on Carwow this morning until 10 a.m. and Motorway, or if it is looking through the auctions and putting it out to people just to see if they can look out for me.
What are your views on the motorways and the Carwow platforms? We get lots of customers
Hmm.
getting concerned that dealers are bidding on it, not to buy the car. They're
Yeah.
bidding on it to go and knock the price of the car. And you
Yeah.
see cars come back on again and again. Is
Yeah.
that an issue?
Yeah,
What's your
so
views?
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think it's great for the consumer. I don't think it's as good for the retail side of the businesses. I think car dealers have got better access to stock now through that, but unfortunately, what it's doing is pushing the prices up. Part exchanges, for example, if someone comes in on a Saturday here and says, "Right, Josh, I want your Porsche. What can you give me for this?" They've already got a Carwow or a Motorway
Mm,
figure, and a lot of the times those are pie in the sky figures. They're not
mm,
guaranteed figures.
mm,
So we had one recently where he came back with a motorway offer, and it was kind of £3,000 more on a 30,000, 10% more on a 30 grand car. It just doesn't stack up. And then what happens is that deal falls down because it doesn't make the reserve on motorway, or it does, and they turn up and say, "Look, there's an alloy wheel and a windscreen
mm.
chip. I need to knock £3,000 off." And the customer says, "No, I'm not prepared to do that." And it creates a mess. So it's very hard, I guess, for the motorways and the car wows to police it. But I think from if I was looking at it from a critical point of view, I think it would be more so on being reasonable with the figures. I think that as a business, Carwow and Motorway will just employ people that will kind of go off of cap and look at figures and say to the customer on the phone, "Yes, we think you can get this figure if we put it on the website." And a lot of the time, I don't think those figures are accurate for where they value the car. So it kind of gives false hope to the consumer, and then a dealer turns up and rightly so kind of says, "Look, well, it's got a cracked pan roof, and that's going to be £3,000, £4,000 or however much it is." And the consumer is led by motorway, and they think, "No, it's this is the price, so I'm going to stick to my guns and off you trot." So it does create a bit of friction. So it can be tricky from time to time.
Yeah, it was last year. We sold four cars through, and we went to all the different platforms just to see how they work from
Yeah,
not just the dealer side of it. We kind of know that from the consumer side of it,
yeah,
and it's amazing. And I get it. The dealers turn up. Every single one would
yeah,
turn up and say, "Ah, sorry, I didn't realize it had the just the 20s on it. I thought it was 21 inch." And I get it because they're trying to chisel the price down because it's profit, right? But I suppose put yourself in that customer's shoes. There must be friction there. And
yeah.
I know the platforms will all say, the dealer's got to pay a certain percentage, otherwise we'll ban them from the site. But again, the other side of it is customers will misdescribe the car. I suppose
Of course.
it's one thing they have though is you can drive the car as opposed to maybe BCA auctions.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure. It definitely helps that you can go and see the condition of the car. You can drive it. You can kind of look over the paperwork in a relaxed manner. I guess, yeah, as you say, from a consumer's point of view, it is tricky that a high percentage of these dealers out there are going to knock it. For us, and how we'll kind of go to a motor or a car wow is we'll only knock it if it genuinely should be knocked.
mm,
We're not turning up and saying, "Oh, well,
yeah.
it hasn't got the bows. We didn't see that in the photos."
Yeah.
And I hear of main dealer groups saying that they don't take a car unless it's got 600 to £1,000 knocked. Otherwise, they walk away. For me, we're buying cars from Scotland, from Northern Ireland, from everywhere in the UK. That time is money for a small team like us. That I'm not going to send someone to kind of quibble over £400, £500. I'm bidding because I know I've got the margin in it. That if we have a bill like that we can swallow it up, and it might reduce the margins a little bit, but it's still a good quality stock car that then pushes us to have after sale products, whether it's finance, whether it's warranty, whether it's
Mm,
alloy wheel protection and stuff like that, where we can make up a little bit of the loss there. So again, I think it's building those
mm,
relationships. I'm finding that I say to our lads to always ask for business off the people we're buying. So we've done fair few deals of sourcing cars for people we've bought off. We've funded a lot of cars, and we've sold warranties to a lot of these people buying elsewhere. So I feel like every transaction is an opportunity to look at margin and making some money. And so to build the relationships with the right kind of customers that are selling those cars is only going to grow the business.
I suppose a small team of your size. What size team do you have, Josh?
So there's five of us here.
Okay. You can't
But
afford to have someone drive all the way to Edinburgh, turn
no.
up there and come back. Just the time lost in that, it just doesn't stack up, does it?
Yeah, so
Uh,
you're anywhere from 600 to £1,000 for a job like that, outsourced. So for us to do it, it's probably a £300-400 mark, and it's just not worth that. I
yeah,
need people here all day, every day. So if they're out for a valid reason. So it's
yeah.
a decision that we'd only really walk away from a car if it really didn't smell right, in terms of the history and checking out everything that we've kind of done, or there was a really valid reason. So yeah, I would say probably 9 out of 10 cars that we'd be buying from Motorway and Carwow, in terms of the ones we go to. In terms of our stock profile, where we buy from mostly, it probably would be your Carwows and your Motorways. We do get quite a lot from BCA because we buy unique. We do well with your kind of your Aston Martins that people don't want, or your Porsche Panameras, or your V8 Range Rovers, your typical central London buyers' cars. That's what we do well with. So they seem to do well on auction sites that we can have a go on them. And the rest of the stuff, as I say, is from those auction sites.
Can you share one of your biggest colds that you caught on valuing a car? Something that you missed, something that our listeners might cry over? What's one of the lessons that you've learnt on
Uh,
miss?
we've we've learnt a few, to be fair. There's been
Sorry to do this to you on a Monday morning, Josh.
yeah, Range Rovers. I have a love-hate relationship for Range Rovers. We had a Range Rover that had full service history, customer purchased from Northern Ireland, shipped the car. I've done full walk around video. When customers buy from a distance, we do walk around video. We do a very kind of detailed any stone chips so the customer knows exactly what they're getting. Customer was from the US, but had moved to Northern Ireland with his wife. Doesn't drive the car much. Had the car probably about a month. Drove down the road and said the coolant light was on. Obviously, we can't verify how long that coolant light was on. Engine went pop. Nowhere in Northern Ireland for 8 months can look at the car. He's obviously within his 6 month
Yep.
period. So we're having to send a truck to Northern Ireland to bring it back to London to then go into a queue for an engine. We then had a £8,500 engine rebuild done on the car. It was tested, done 100 and something miles in the engine, all good. Went back on the truck, back over to Northern Ireland. And on the day of delivery, the delivery driver rang us up and said, "You do realise there's no coolant in the coolant bottle?" And we're like, "Oh, hold on a minute." So for me, this is when it starts to get really stressed, because obviously stuff like that, for me, it's really important, like the level of service, and you can't really explain that to a customer other than telling them as it is. So
Yeah, yep.
so luckily they just hadn't pressurized the system, so we had to get that done locally, and the car's been fine since.
Thank
Touch wood,
goodness.
I've never really had big problems, but I try and do as many checks as possible: salvage yard checks, HPIs,
Yep.
service history. I do a lot of the calling as well. So there's a lot, especially on BMW, there'll be an iDrive system that shows service history, but it's not got the BMW service history because anyone can kind of code it in and put it on the iDrive. So I'll always try and check the history to make sure it is genuine history. So fingers crossed we do enough checks, but can never say never. But hopefully, yeah, if we do have one, then hopefully it's not a big bath, because yeah, that would I don't think I'll be getting out of bed on a Monday morning. I think Wednesday before I come in. So yeah,
Listen, we've all dropped a bollock on a car.
yeah,
We've all valued the car completely wrong. I suppose it goes back to the statement you said before. Sometimes, if you can make a quick 5 grand to the
yeah,
trade as opposed to
yeah.
making 8 grand, I get it. Sometimes it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, for sure. We was laughing, like, for me, I can never make sense of it when I speak to the lads here. Like, we'll go and buy. We had an incident where we bought 3 cars. We bought a Q7, and as you say, I dropped a bollock on it because I quickly realised that the SUV market, especially in London, struggles without pan roof. We just sit on them for a long time. I saw this Q7, all the options, and I thought I saw pan roof, and it didn't have pan roof. So we bought 3 cars. We bought an estate car, the Q7. And we thought we'd try a little cheap car. Between us, we said, right, let's try a cheap car, an automatic ULEZ, easy to get around. We'll try a Ford Focus. So 3 of us went down to the auction to collect the car. We'd done a flip of the tails to see who could drive what. I don't know why I agreed to that because it was one of the hottest days of the year, and there's me losing in a Ford Focus with no air conditioning. These guys, it's a Maserati. The guys had a Maserati and a Q7, aircon, everything lovely, and we kind of said, right, what car's going to sell the quickest? And I thought the Maserati because it's value for money. It's a London car, affluent looking. The Q7 is going to be the one that takes the longest, and I think the Focus will be in the middle. The Q7 sold in 2 hours of going live at 9 o'clock at night. The Focus we ended up making a loss on after 2 months, 3 months. And the Maserati took, probably about 100 days to sell. And although we had margin across it, it was a long one. So for me, the cars that I always say to the lads, that's going to fly, that's going to go quick, seems to be the ones that don't. And it's the ones that we say are not going to sell quick, fly out. For me, you just can't write it. We haven't got a big enough stock profile that we can kind of say, right, well, that's definitely going to sell. It's just the buyer's market, really. So.
I suppose it shocked me that you had to go to Focus. That's not really your
Yeah.
clientele at all, or you just thought you'd have a go. I even read somewhere about you had to have a go at motorhome. Is that right?
Yeah, so we had a motorhome that I had a customer for. I have customers that will buy absolutely everything. The guys laugh at me. They genuinely will find a reason to buy something, whether it's to annoy the wife, whether it's to get away from the wife, or whether it's to give to someone as a gift. So this chap messaged me 6 months ago saying, Josh, I've got a builder who's always had a dream to have a motorhome and something like that. If you get something cheap, just let me know. And I had a Mercedes dealership ring me and say, Josh, you're not going to want this, but I'm going to offer it to you anyway. I really need help. I've got to get a car sold. But he's offering me a bloody motorhome. And I'm like, I'm buying it. He was like, no, you're not. I said, I am buying it. Send me the photos. I sent the photos to the guy and he's like, how much is it? Sent him the money. He was like, yeah, all good to go. This guy thought I was the best thing since sliced bread. I think in the dealership, they're like, this guy buys motorbikes when none of us can ride motorbikes, buys motorhomes, Japanese camper vans. Like this dealership's like absolutely loved us ever since because we're buying absolutely everything off of them because we know where we can place it really. So yeah.
That's it. That just leaves me to say that all details of this episode and other episodes on the selling in the motor trade can be found on our website, simcotraining.co.uk. Go there to get a copy of our book, Words That Sell Cars. Go there to sign up to a free trial of our Sales Fitness online sales training program. Easiest way to get hold of me is Simon Bokert through LinkedIn. Thank you.